So Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told me on Wednesday that she does not see a smooth path down for inflation. I'm curious, how bumpy a road will it be before we see all prices then fall?
I want to remind you what caused inflation. We know that inflation was caused by supply chains that broke down because of the pandemic, Russia's war on Ukraine. We know that caused oil prices to skyrocket. Our economy was disrupted by so many ways because of the pandemic. That's what caused inflation. And so because the president took action, I've seen inflation go down by 2/3 from its peak. And so I want to make sure that it is clear what she said and what the data also shows.
But 2/3 from its peak was a year and a half into President Biden's office, or into his term. He also canceled the Keystone Pipeline, which also sparked, and we passed $5.8 trillion in spending, which also pushes inflation. But my question is, how much longer will it be for Americans to then bring down all prices?
So look, because the president's unprecedented actions that he took as it relates to the oil, we saw gas prices go down. Look, the pandemic, the supply chain, what we saw Putin do in Ukraine, right? That caused inflation to increase. And in every part of what I just said, what I just laid out, the president has taken action on. We can speak to.
Where does the White House think what's going to happen to TikTok? Because even if the bill makes it to the president's desk, the Chinese government needs to approve it, which they're likely not to. It could also face significant legal pushback. So what does the White House ultimately think is going to happen with TikTok?
Right, services operating in the United States these services put Americans' data at risk. You heard the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, speak to this on Tuesday. It is important for us to have an understanding, right, where this American data is going. Do they live here or do they live in China, for example? He said that, right? Is their ownership here or is it in China, for example?
What is the president thinking about Senator Bernie Sanders' plan for a 4-day work week with the same level of income?
So look, I'll say this: the president has a very good working relationship with Senator Sanders. We've been able to get some historic pieces of legislation done on behalf of the American people. We will review that piece of legislation. I don't have anything else to add.
There was a settlement in the National Association of Realtors case that effectively ends the 6% commission.
Say that again. Can you start at the top?
There was a settlement in the National Association of Realtors case that effectively ends the 6% commission on house sales. You know, Biden administration made a lot about fees and costs and consumer costs. Has the White House been tracking this case and any reaction to the settlement?
So I can't speak to the settlement. Obviously, you're talking about junk fees and how important it is that we...
Yeah, I'm not calling this a junk fee. I'm just saying that you guys have been focused on consumer fees, consumer costs. Yeah. This is kind of in line with those things. We're seeing that effectively the 6% commission is going away.
Look, their wealth, what they've been able to incur to the consumers. So look, it is very important. The president has always said he's going to stand up for Americans, and he believes corporations obviously should pay their fair share here, and not treat Americans like suckers. He has said that over and over again. And so I can't speak to this particular case, but obviously this fits in more broadly in what this president has been trying to do.